If you guys don't remember, Andrew Tate had an interview with the BBC. I covered that like last week, but my audio wasn't very good, so I'm just gonna like redo it. So, a lot of tater tots came out when the interview happened, basically saying that it was kind of like trimmed out of context to do like a hit job on Andrew Tate. But I'm gonna be honest, after seeing this video the first time, it's not very good. It doesn't make him look that great. It just makes him look like a crybaby. But outside of that, he did have an official response to the BBC, his official statement. I think it's right here. I'll probably just like summarize it because I remember seeing it, but I don't know. Let's just get into the actual interview. We'll probably not watch all of it because it's basically very much the same thing over and over and over again. But we'll probably just do this as like an official kind of
Andrew Tate.
We'll do this to kind of like point out exactly what happened with this interview.
With the BBC today.
Yep.
Are doing an interview with you because you're facing some very serious allegations.
Correct.
Rape, human trafficking.
Yep.
And also because there's a great deal of concern about the things you say and the impact that they have on young people or women.
I don't think the concern's about the things I say. I think the concern is for the level of influence I have and the reach I have. I would argue that a lot of the things that are already out there inside of the legacy media and the matrix as a whole are far more damaging than the things I say.
It's the concern about the influence you have being a harmful influence, but let's start with the allegations.
Not necessarily a harmful influence. The fact that I'm massively influential over, but it's my influence as a whole which people are afraid of, not necessarily the victims.
Let's start with the allegations. Have you raped anybody?
Absolutely not.
Have you trafficked anybody?
Absolutely not.
Exploited any women for
Absolutely
money?
not.
But you have admitted using emotional manipulation to get women to work in the webcam industry for you.
No. Firstly, let's begin. Let's start at the beginning. I'm facing charges. The first one you mentioned, the rape one's already been thrown out by a judge. There's no evidence of it. Secondly, it's very difficult for me to sit here and have a very frank and honest conversation with you while we're in the territory of Romania about a legal case that's going on within Romania. I have to protect myself. I've agreed to do an interview with you, and I want to be as honest with you as possible. But I can't incriminate myself in any way, and I have to be very careful with what I talk about.
Which I just want to point out, I feel like I can't incriminate myself in any way. I have to be very careful about the way I talk. That doesn't really sound much. Now, don't get me wrong. Like in court cases, there are things that can be said by the person who is being charged that could be spun out of context to imply something. But usually those are like, they're not as complicated as this one. Because a lot of the things that Tate has said directly feeds into the things he's being charged for. With context too. So it's not like an out of context thing where they manipulate a sentence. Like he has said a bunch of things that feed into his charges of like R-wording people, trafficking people, doing many different things, many different illegal things. I feel like him stating that just kind of like, it shows that there is a lot of things to go off there. With him saying, I can't incriminate myself. Like, it shouldn't be that hard not to incriminate yourself. I'm gonna be honest. That doesn't really sound like something an innocent person would say. I know that's nitpicking, but
Correct, there are no charges.
It's a little different when it comes from him.
There are no charges, and I've agreed to speak to you, but I have to be as honest and frank as I can while also protecting myself and following my legal counsel.
So let's talk about what you've said yourself then. You have said on the website, for your original website for the Husbands University, that you emotionally manipulated women to fall in love with you so that you could get them working in the sex industry for your financial gain.
As I said, I have to be very careful with what I say, but let's put it this way. Nope.
This is what the video is going to be mostly about. It's going to be her saying things that he has said, that he has done, and it will be him being like, no, either just say plain out saying no, which is wrong because there's plenty of evidence on the internet of him saying and doing these things. And there are a lot of times where he just kind of like gives a nothing answer. Like when she asked him about like the whole like charges against him, as well as saying that he has said that he will emotionally manipulate women into working with him, he again just says, "Well, I can't say anything with this interview that might, would incriminate me." Like, it's just nothing answers, or him just plain out saying no, which is wrong, because there is actual evidence to show that he has said these things, which is pretty incriminating in itself. I'm just saying, there is actual proof of him saying this shit.
No women are coming out against me and accusing me of doing it.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
Yes, there are. There has been plenty of women who have come out against him. Just because they don't show their faces or don't reveal their names doesn't mean they aren't actually doing this stuff. They're doing that to protect themselves from this guy's weirdo fucking fan base.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not. Who?
There's testimony from the current investigation.
The current investigation, which I cannot discuss, which I know intimately and you don't, I can tell you right now that the women who are in this case file, there are 2 American women who have been caught already admitting their lying.
The thing that he is referencing there is that there was like a WhatsApp text between like 2 women who used to be like close to the Tates, and a lot of Andrew Tate's fans took that out of context to show that like, oh, these women like were like manipulating them, I guess, and that they were like planning on like incriminating him and shit like that. But like anyone with an actual brain could kind of tell that they were talking about like how they weren't feeling safe with them. So like they were talking about like we need to make them think that we love them. But a lot of tater tots meant that to think that they were like emotionally manipulating them just to like incriminate them later, when really they were saying like we need to make sure that they think that we're in love with them. That way when we try to escape them because they're trafficking us and like abusing us and shit, we need them to believe that we love them so they wouldn't suspect that we would just like run out on them. Because if they were to act distant from the Tates would have be cautious about the Tates would be worried that the 2 would leave and like go to the authorities because they know what they're doing is wrong. But they're just like plain dumb, I guess, and like just denying anything that comes their way about stuff that they have actually said and done.
And then nobody else is accusing me of anything.
To begin with, it's very common in cases like this that the alleged victims do not always see themselves as victims.
Well, that's very...
Which is very true. Like, there was like one ex-wife that Donald Trump had, going back to the Donald Trump stuff we talked about earlier. There was like one ex-wife Donald Trump had who said that like he was like very like abusive towards her, and I think there was like some SA stuff going on there, but she did say that she didn't feel like she was an R-word victim or like a victim at all. Like, there can be stuff that happens to you that maybe you don't even recognize yourself is something bad, but you just like you make yourself believe it's right because you don't understand it. Hell, there was a woman with that Vice documentary on Tate who said that she didn't view herself as a victim because she just thought that was normal. Like, she had to convince herself that was normal, like the things that he would do to her.
Very interesting. It's actually extremely interesting because if I was a matrix-controlled organization, my goal was to slander somebody and try and destroy their name. You're telling me that they've chosen a crime which, 1, is heinous, of course, because it damages the person's credibility, and 2, you're saying that even if everyone else involved, if you have 5 people and everyone's sitting there saying, no, nobody's hurt anybody, we like Andrew, we've all worked together, we're friends, etc.
That's not what everybody's saying.
Which, again, this is also something that will come out a lot. This is just something that is like a staple when it comes to Andrew Tate. He likes to do a lot of anecdotal evidence, a lot of made-up evidence. He likes to come up with made-up evidence of being like, oh, this is why I'm innocent. Like, I think what he's trying to say there is like, well, I have like friends who say that I didn't do anything wrong, which means I didn't do anything wrong. Which is mostly his defense when it comes to a lot of stuff.
No.
Let me read you some of the testimony from the current investigation.
Can I finish, please?
One of the witnesses said...
Can I finish, please?
You're not answering the question I've asked you. You're not answering the question I've asked you.
I am answering the question.
Let me read you the testimony of one of the witnesses.
You're saying the people who are involved in this, even if they say they're not victims, that they're still going to try and attack me and pretend they're victims.
They are treated as victims by...
Yeah, again, like I said, just because people can face things, like people can be victims but not feel as though they are victims themselves, because that's kind of what being a victim is. Like, a lot of people don't want to see themselves as a victim, so they try to make sense of the things that happen to them. But by like any other standard, they are a victim. That doesn't like mean they're not a victim anymore. It just means that they're just trying to make sense of what happened to them, because normally as human beings, we don't like to see ourselves as victims. We like to see ourselves as strong and in control of things. So when someone takes that away from us, we usually tend to act as though the stuff that happened to us is normal. And not everyone is like that too, but it is very common that like this is why like victims don't really come forward that much. It's one of the reasons. There's other reasons beyond that too, like public scrutiny. But this is like one of the reasons.
The case that's ongoing, and not all of them are saying that. One of the witnesses says...
We can't go into the case. The case is open and active.
Well, let's just be clear that not all of the witnesses in the case are behaving in the way you describe. And even those that are, it doesn't bar them from being treated as victims by the prosecution, by the case.
We have an open criminal investigation. I am absolutely not really sure I'll be found innocent. I know the case better than you. I know it intimately and you don't. I have seen all the criminal files and the evidence against me and you haven't. I know the truth of what happened.
And another thing that Tate will do throughout this interview is being like, I'm a part of this case and you aren't. I know more than you and you don't. It's just, again, he just repeats the same arguments over and over again. By the way, this is the cut. This is like the full interview. This is the full interview that like BBC didn't edit. And this is what Andrew Tate's fans think make him look good. Like, keep that in mind as we watch this. This is what the fans of Andrew Tate believe make him look good. Like, apparently he owns her in this. And I can tell you, as someone who already watched this, he just looks more stupid as time goes on.
And you don't. And I'm telling you, absolutely not really. I've never hurt anybody. That the case that's been put against me is completely and utterly fabricated. And I'm never going to be found guilty of anything. And it's very difficult for me to answer your in-depth questions because we're sitting here inside of the territory of Romania. I'm beholden to the Romanian legal system. And I'm not going to incriminate myself because you're trying to prod me. You are wrong, and we're going to have to accept that for now and talk about something else.
Let me read you then what you have said about what you have done. You have said, my job was to meet a girl, go on a few dates, sleep with her, get her to fall in love with me to the point where she'd do anything I say, and then get her on webcam so we could become rich together.
I don't think that's what I personally said. I think that's
exactly what you said.
That's no, I've never said that. That's something that you found on the internet. Doesn't mean I've said it. And again, once again, if any female on the planet has a problem with me, I strongly recommend her to go to the police and try and pursue me for criminal charges. It's actually very interesting that
there have been women who have done that. There was like an infamous story that he tried to spin into some like random chick being mad at him, but like it was actually like a girl who used to work with him who tried to who like he abused, who went to the police, and like he tried to make it seem like it was just like some girl who was mad at him who tried to like falsely accuse him, but it turned out it was just like a bad, like the British police just did a really bad job. You know, like they didn't really care that much about it. There have been women who have like pursued him with criminal charges. Like that is something that has happened before.
Me, one of the most famous people in the world, who's been vilified by the legacy media and places all over the internet, while everyone has attacked me from every single angle, while federal agencies from multiple countries have called over 2,000 women who know me, we stand here with 0 new accusations since my arrest. 0. If you took any famous person, any man of substantial wealth, and you called 2,000 women who knew him, you'd find an ex-girlfriend is upset, somebody who wants money who's upset. They called
Didn't that happen? I kind of like doubt that happened. Also, like, they could be lying. They could feel threatened by you. Still, even to this day. And I highly doubt it's 2,000 women. I don't know. He just likes making up stupid shit. Like, it's hard to believe anything that comes out of his mouth.
2,000 people who
So
knew me could not find a single woman to make a new complaint. The only complaints they have against me are the initial complaints, which we can prove are lies, and that's where it stands. So I'm not going to sit here and allow you to pretend that I'm some kind of evil predator, when actually I'd argue the fact that people who've been investigated to the level I've been investigated to, if you were to take the average man on the street and investigate his entire life for 14 months, call everyone who's ever known him,
just more anecdotal
and
stuff.
vilify him in the media,
Anecdotal
and encourage
stuff
people
that
to come
just
forward
doesn't
for
matter.
money, and you try to contact every
You
ex-girlfriend
think
that's ever had.
would come forward and accuse those people of rape and accuse those
I
people
think that
of
you would have a lot more.
manipulation?
I think you would have a lot more flack than I've got. I'm actually such a nice person that
The
I've never had
BBC has
anyone come
spoken
at.
to somebody since your arrest who
Jesus
says
Christ.
exactly those things. That with you, it's all manipulation. There's an ulterior.
Is this
motive to
Sophie?
Everything.
Is this
you've
Sophie?
done.
Oh, it's Sophie. The fake name, no face, no
I
one.
was so
The
intent
story that
on
was
wanting
invented.
to please him and wanting him to be happy that I was just trying.
Again, like, there was a woman who didn't come forward with her name, who didn't come forward with her actual face, because she didn't feel safe, because of how much of an influence this guy has over, like, fucking creepos on the internet who will fucking find someone and, like, you know, fucking just, like, send them death threats and shit like that. Like, of course, like, you have cultivated this whole violent fan base. Of course, someone who comes forward is going to be hesitant on, like, calling you out for, like, the terrible shit you've done. Because they know, via the violent fan base that you have cultivated, that they are more likely going to be attacked and harassed, whether it's online or offline.
Yeah, okay, do
So,
whatever
of
you
course,
want.
like,
And what
these
is she
women
accused of?
wouldn't come forward, or would at least, like, try to hide their identity from the public.
She accused me of a crime. This imaginary Sophie.
She's making the point that there is
Has she accused me of a crime?
emotional or psychological manipulation.
I've asked you a question, and I've allowed you into my house.
I'm asking you a question.
Correct, but you're
This
not
is
the boss
an interview.
because I've allowed you into my house.
She's the
I'm
one
asking you the question.
Correctly, and I'm telling you.
You get to decide the answers.
No.
Does this
We're-
guy not understand what an interview is? Again, this is something that he'll bring up a lot too. Like, I brought you into my house, that makes us equals, you don't have authority, blah, 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 blah. It's an interview. An Andrew Tate interview. We don't give a shit about, like, what she says outside, like, the questions and, like, the questions that he's asking him about, like, the stuff that he has said and done. Like, we're not supposed to really care that much about what, like, who she is as a person, outside of what she's asking him. But I guess he doesn't get that. I don't think he knows what an interview is. He doesn't know what clippers are. Because, Jesus Christ. Like, you know, you can have your opinions on my hair, but, like, that is terrible.
We're equal here. I've allowed you into my house. You don't come here with a position of authority. I'm doing you the favor as legacy media, giving you relevance by speaking to you. And I'm telling you now, this Sophie, which the BBC has invented, which there's no face of, nobody knows who she is.
The
and
BBC did not invent.
Of course not. And because you never invent anything. And she's not filed criminal charges against me. What are we talking about? What is she
We're talking
saying?
about emotional manipulation.
Has she-
It's the sex industry for your financial gain.
Absolute garbage. She has not filed criminal, this person, if they exist, has not filed criminal charges against me. I welcome anybody who believes I've harmed them, male or female, any point in the past, to file criminal charges against them. I know who I am, and I know what I've done, and I know the truth, and I know that I'll be found innocent of this attack. The reason I'm being attacked is because of my massive influence, not because I've ever hurt anybody. And for you to sit here and say that everybody around you is saying you're innocent, but that doesn't matter because the state will say they're victims, and they're just going to grab everybody you know and call everybody victims, even if they say they're not, and try and put you in jail. You are describing a matrix attack. You're not describing human trafficking.
I'm describing women who are going to court to accuse you of rape and human trafficking.
We
and
will see what women
Excuse
go.
me, can I
We will
finish,
see
please?
what women go to court at
Can
the
I
end of this
finish,
trial.
please?
We'll see which women go
Can
to
I
court.
finish, please?
We'll see which women go to court.
What does he mean by that, by the way? We will see which women go to court? Like, he's already trying to discredit
women
them
who are going to
before they even
court
show
to
up, I
accuse you of
guess.
rape and human
Sophie hasn't gone to court. Sophie doesn't
and
exist.
I'm describing women who have spoken to the BBC at length
Sophie doesn't exist.
and other media organisations about
He's
what they say is
hyper-focusing on
emotional
one
manipulation and coercion. And I'm quoting back to you your own
has
words where
credible,
you describe
They're not
valid
my words.
reasons of not
The
wanting to
words you
actually speak up
found, the
about
words you
it
found on the internet,
publicly.
and Sophie doesn't exist.
On
So
your
let's move on to the
website.
next
Again,
subject.
this is just what he does. He
Move on
just
to the next
focuses,
subject.
No, I
hyper-focuses
think
on
I'll
this
stick on
one
this one
thing
for a minute.
to try to
So there's
disprove it,
other
but it just
places
makes
in
him
that
sound like
same
an idiot.
website where you say you get girls to fall in love with you and they do it because they love you, because they want to do what you say. Convincing women to take part in some kind of business arrangement doesn't work long term because they're emotional. You've got to get them to fall in love with you.
Once
That's
again,
coercion, that's emotional manipulation, that's abuse.
what you've found are clips from the internet, some text from the internet, and you're going to sit here and tell me that that's the reason I should be
Your
murdered.
website, your words.
It's not my website.
It very much is. Again, those clips, those texts are all from him. And in context, they are not good. There was that whole video that this one lawyer did that Hassan talked about, in which he literally sits there and describes how he gets women to work for them, where he doesn't even just describe human trafficking. I mean, he does, but it's not just human trafficking, but he also talks about, tax fraud. It's very obvious if you were to watch that video that he's not joking, and he's describing two serious crimes. For anyone who might know what this is about, you probably have already, seen this video before, where it's this room, he's talking about, how he got women to work with him. This is the video that, for a lot of people, served as a big point of, credit against Andrew Tate. This video alone could, very much serve as, a huge part of him being found guilty in court, if this is, brought up as evidence. Because a lot of the things he says in this video, this was, a part of, his Hustlers University program. And, in the full video, there's no context to describe, that he's joking. He takes it very seriously. But that's something that he's going to bring up in, this interview a lot, which is, you're taking it out of context. This is all meant to be jokes.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Check my website. Next.
Also, a lot of people found evidence of him literally describing that on his website, even though, the website he put that text on is, gone. But it's because the Wayback Machine works, and people have used that to actually, find his website and what he wrote down in there, and it, describes exactly that. It describes that he would, emotionally manipulate women to work with him.
It's the website.
Hell, he had a, learning program called the Pimping Hose degree. He made it so obvious what he was doing with, his first, it was, his proto-Hustlers University. And he made it so obvious what exactly he was trying to do. That he called it the Pimping Hose degree.
You've taken down, and I wonder why those comments have been taken
No
down.
website's been taken down. My website is the same. It's been the same for a very long time.
The comments on this website, on the original website, have been taken down, and I wonder why.
You are accusing me, I'm guessing, what you're trying to say is you're accusing me and you're trying to say that I'm guilty of the things I'm accused of and I'm emotionally manipulating.
I'm saying that you have said you emotionally manipulated people here for your own financial gain,
No, absolutely not.
and I'm asking you about that.
Absolutely not is the answer. I look forward to the end of this trial. I look forward to clearing my name. I look forward to the BBC and the legacy media having to say not guilty and having to tell the truth. As I've said before, the only other person who's been found, despite absolute rigorous, destructive levels
what
of
did he think his plan
investigations
was?
and
That they were just
prodding
going to
into
sit
my
down and let
life is
him
this imaginary
shit?
Sophie by the BBC who doesn't exist.
It's
And if you were to
again,
find
it's
any
an
single
interview.
other man
He's
on
not
Earth
answering their
and
questions.
try and
They're
analyze
answering
his life
misdirected.
forensically to the level they've done mine, you would find genuine damage to people. I don't hurt people.
It's not just
Thousands of women have
allegations
come out in my
and
defense. Thousands of women have come out in my defense. If you don't,
That's your metric? That thousands of women have come out in your defense? Yeah, thousands of men have too. That doesn't mean anything.
mention that. Thousands of women come out in my defense.
Because the problem is when women accuse you of serious crimes
Okay,
and emotional
but
manipulation.
let's agree that
that's
thousands
the
of
problem.
women. Let's agree that
It's not
thousands.
the problem that some
Which I
people.
don't even know that's true. A lot of his supporters are mostly young men. There have been other women, I'm pretty sure Pearly Things supported him. Well, like, yeah, it's a very specific type of woman. Again, he cultivates a very specific fan base, and yeah, those women are gonna stand up for him. But like, these women don't really know that much about him. Again, the people who are accusing of these things are people who have like worked with him intimately. So yeah, they have a little more say on what's true and what's not true in this case than a bunch of random women online. I don't know why he thinks that's great defense.
Say you haven't done it. It's a problem that some people say you have.
Thousands of women come out in my defense, and as we stand right now, we have an open criminal investigation. The people who are involved in the criminal investigation are saying we're not victims of anything. Andrew's fine, he's never hurt us. You're saying no, I have the opposite to that. I have to counter that. I have someone called Sophie with no face, a fake name, who we've invented, and she's not accused.
If there was someone who like hurt someone else, they're going to focus on the person who was hurt rather than other people who have nothing to do with that. I don't know what he's trying to get across here. Like, yeah, they're gonna focus on more of the people who are saying that you did these things. Like, oh, well, yeah, I did hurt this one person, but like, there's millions of other people who I didn't hurt. That means I'm innocent. That's basically what his like whole defense is. Like, there's thousands of people who I didn't hurt. Except he's not even saying that he hurted someone. He's just saying like he's trying to focus on like everyone else who's saying that he's good instead of the women who are actually saying that he's bad. Like he's done bad things to them. He's trying to misdirect. I don't even know if I want to continue the rest of this interview because it's just the same thing over and over again. He's just deflecting. He's just trying so hard to make it seem like he's innocent. And again, this is the full Andrew Tate BBC interview. This was posted by a fan channel of his. And they think this makes him look good. They honestly think that this makes him look good. Which is sad because he looks so pathetic. Because this doesn't make him look better. This just makes him look like a whiny crybaby who's trying everything he can to like take what this case is actually about and move it somewhere else. Like, she's actually doing a pretty good job. She keeps trying to bring it back on what the interview is supposed to be around. But he's just trying so hard to make it about anything else. But she's very much standing her ground. But she very much is, like, standing her ground, like, checking him, making sure he's not, like, out of line, trying to bring the conversation to what it's supposed to be around, but he's just... It's, like... I don't know if straw man is very, like, much the accurate term to use, but he's trying to like find anything else he can center the interview around outside of the things that he has definitely said and done. And when she brings up the things that he has definitely said and done, he's like, oh no, like I didn't say that, or they were just jokes. Even though with context, they're not really jokes. Like again, like she brings up like the video and like the text in which he blatantly says he emotionally manipulates women. But again, like I pointed out, this is like the main video a lot of people like were talking about, and that's probably the video that she's talking about too. And this wasn't like some random podcast with some random alpha bros, like a fresh and fit type, where he's like always trying to joke around, where he's like joking around with them while also bringing up his real life experiences. This is like a course that he released to his fans, in which he is really trying to tell them how they can traffic women like him. This isn't a joke. This is actual stuff that he's doing, but he's just trying to. It's like he's trying to rewrite history, because I feel like before this whole thing, he was very like open about all the things he said. Like he was very like blatant, like, oh, this is what I'm about. This is what I am. But it feels like he's trying to take like a huge step back, which is pretty weird considering like his fans are still with him on this. Like he doesn't feel like the same guy who got arrested. It feels like he's trying to pretend to be someone else to make himself look innocent. But he got his fans through this misogynistic propaganda that they actually do believe in. But now they all had to lie to themselves, being like, oh yeah, it was just a joke. Like, it's just weird. Like, I don't know how he feels like that interview and this new direction is going to work out well for him, I feel like he's very much like done for. Like, I don't see this court case working out for him very well. And if it's going to be like a miracle if he gets out, but also we have to realize we're talking about like a Romanian government that he himself has admitted isn't very safe. It's very much corrupt. So we'll have to see. But again, he has admitted that the Romanian system is very corrupt. So even if he does walk free, that doesn't mean shit even by his standards, because he has admitted himself it's a very corrupt country. So we'll see where this goes.